The Sulu Sea is home to dangerous extremist groups, where secret battles are fought by intelligence agencies and governments to keep the area safe. At the Palawan Air Base in the Philippines, a skilled team prepares for a risky mission. Master Sergeant John Sugar, along with Sergeants J.J. Kinney, Bishop, and Abel, are sent to rescue a CIA agent who's gone silent in a dangerous area. The agent was gathering information on Alexander Petrov, a dangerous Russian arms dealer and former KGB agent. Meanwhile, at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, Captain Eddie Grimm, a talented drone pilot, helps by controlling a Reaper drone from the base. He's supported by Staff Sergeant Nia Branson, who keeps track of every move. But Eddie is distracted. His pregnant wife, Lucy, keeps calling, and she could go into labor at any moment. He asks Colonel Does Packett and the team to cover for him in case his wife needs him, balancing the mission with his personal life. The team touches down on a remote beach and treks 8 kilometers through rugged terrain toward their target. But just as they close in, disaster strikes. The drone's visual link goes down, leaving Captain Eddie Grimm and Sergeant Kinney unable to see enemy positions on the ground. With no other drones available, Eddie has to pull the Reaper back to base for repairs, leaving the team vulnerable. Pushing ahead, they arrive at Abu Sayyaf's headquarters and spot their targets: Alexander Petrov, the Russian arms dealer, and Saeed Hashimi, Abu Sayyaf's ruthless leader, meeting for a weapons deal. But the scene turns brutal. Hashimi suddenly turns on Petrov, beheading his wife as a deadly show of dominance. Just as he moves to execute Petrov's son, the Reaper drone is back in action. The team quickly orders a Reaper drone strike, hoping to stop the horror. At the same time, they manage to wound Hashimi, shooting him in the leg. But this attack sets off a brutal firefight. Abu Sayyaf fighters emerge from every direction, guns blazing. Amid the chaos, Sergeant Abel is hit and tragically loses his life. Abu Sayyaf fighters retaliate with a fierce barrage of RPG fire, explosions ripping through the team's position before Kinney even has a chance to call Eddie for a missile strike. In the aftermath of a fierce firefight with Abu Sayyaf, Sergeant J.J. Kinney emerges as the sole survivor, wounded and alone. With no one else to rely on, he's guided toward an extraction point, his only lifeline the Reaper drone circling above. From the control room, Captain Eddie Grimm stays on the satellite phone, becomes Kinney's lifeline. Eddie talks him through each step, watching the ground from above, steering Kinney away from enemy patrols and guiding him through hostile terrain. Just as Kinney reaches the extraction point, he's ambushed by Abu Sayyaf fighters, pinning him down and draining the last of Eddie's drone ammunition. With the helicopter unable to safely land, it's forced to leave, stranding Kinney in hostile territory. The Hornet fighter jets in, dropping its firepower dangerously close to Kinney, clearing out the attackers in a storm of explosions before it streaks away. Alone again, Kinney makes a break for another extraction point, scrambling through the dense jungle. But he stumbles down a steep hill and loses his rifle, leaving him with only his pistol, which soon clicks empty. And with nowhere left to run, he leaps off a cliff into a waterfall. Bruised and exhausted, he surfaces, only to be captured. Just when all hope seems lost, Kinney is unexpectedly saved by Sergeant John Sugar, who miraculously survived the ambush. Sugar brings a grim update. Sergeant Bishop has been taken prisoner and is held in Abu Sayyaf's hidden base, a treacherous network of caves at their original mission site. With no time to lose, Kinney borrows Sugar's radio and contacts Captain Eddie, who orchestrates 3 precisely timed airstrikes on the enemy stronghold, each set 15 minutes apart. But before they can witness the outcome, Eddie and Branson are abruptly grounded by their superiors, having exceeded their duty limits. Kinney and Sergeant John Sugar launch a daring assault on one of Abu Sayyaf's heavily guarded facilities. Quietly, they take out the guards and slip inside without being seen. But soon, Abu Sayyaf fighters swarm the hallways from all directions, and Kinney and Sweet are forced to fight for their lives. They manage to hold off several attackers, but as more enemies arrive, they start running low on ammunition. With no way to escape, they become surrounded and, outnumbered and outgunned, are forced to surrender. Sweet meets a tragic end, executed just as the first bomb strikes the compound. Kinney is dragged off to face brutal interrogation by the ruthless rebel leader Saeed Hashimi, who dismisses at Kinney's warnings of more bombs to come. But when the second bombing lands, the explosion rips through the facility. Kinney, submerged in a tub of water during his torture, miraculously escapes the worst of the flames. Seizing his chance, Kinney breaks free and finds the CIA operative held nearby. Together, they make their way back to rescue Bishop, devising a risky escape plan. Along the way, Kinney confronts Hashimi, taking him down with a machete and grabbing his satellite phone. With only seconds left before the battery dies, Kinney desperately dials Nellis Air Force Base, urging Eddie to call off the third bombing before it's too late. As Kinney calls the base, the crew, busy watching a March Madness game, ignores him and redirects him to Eddie's personal phone. Grim, unaware of the urgency, is talking to his very pregnant wife while shopping for groceries. Frustrated, Kinney leaves a desperate voicemail, knowing time is running out. While checking out at the grocery store, Eddie listens to Kinney's voicemail and realizes the urgency of the situation. He quickly rushes out, dialing Nellis Air Force Base as he speeds toward the base, determined to stop the impending disaster. In a panic, Eddie rushes into the control room and orders the B-1 Lancer pilot to stop the bombing. Just as the plane flies overhead, its shadow falls on Kinney, Bishop, and the CIA agent. As the soldiers are safely extracted from the Philippines, Eddie expresses his anger to the base crew and his superiors, furious that 3 men nearly lost their lives because the team was too distracted to take their calls. In a fit of rage, he smashes the main television in the break room. Later, Eddie meets with Branson in a hangar, where she unexpectedly asks him to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. Touched, Eddie agrees, and the two share a heartfelt dance. Thank you for watching Movie Mind. Subscribe for more update.